All right, today we're going inside one of the most elite, most specialized schools in the entire U.S. military. This is the place where soldiers learn to face the absolute most terrifying weapons on the planet. So, let's get right into it.
Let us roll to battle by means of the elements. It's a pretty powerful motto, right? This is the guiding principle of the U.S. Army's Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear School, or CBRN for short. It's all about mastering the very elements that could be turned into weapons.
These days, if you want to find the nerve center for all CBRN defense training, you have to go to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. I mean, this place is the one-stop shop for the entire Department of Defense. It's where the best learn how to deal with the worst.
But, to really understand the school today, we've got to look back at where it came from. How did this state-of-the-art facility in Missouri grow out of a much, much grittier and honestly more secretive proving ground that was forged in the heat of the Cold War?
Well, that story begins in Alabama, at a place called Fort McClellan.
So, the school's modern story really kicks off in 1951 when it's reactivated there at Fort McClellan. And it didn't take long for things to get serious. Just 2 years later, in '53, they ran the secret Operation Top Hat, and we'll definitely get back to that one. By 1954, brand new facilities were up and running, cementing this place as the absolute epicenter of chemical warfare training for almost 50 years, right up until it closed down in 1999.
During the Cold War, the philosophy was simple: readiness through realism. We're talking 8 weeks of incredibly intense chemical training. And this wasn't just sitting in a classroom. No way. This was hands-on, down-and-dirty training with flamethrowers, smoke grenades, and just grueling decontamination drills. All of it was designed to get soldiers ready for a kind of battlefield nobody had ever really seen before.
Now, take a look at this. This gives you a real feel for that time. It's an actual declassified document from the Chemical Warfare Service, which was the forerunner to today's Chemical Corps. It just kind of hammers home how serious and top secret this work really was, right from the very beginning.
And that commitment to realism? Well, it was pushed to the absolute extreme. It actually involved secret exercises that used American soldiers as human test subjects, most notoriously in that program I mentioned called Operation Top Hat. So what exactly was Operation Top Hat? Well, back in 1953, it was a classified exercise where military personnel were intentionally exposed to chemical and biological agents. We're talking things like sulfur mustard and even nerve agents. Why? All to test how effective their protective gear and decontamination methods were. It's a pretty stark example of just how far the military was willing to go to prepare for this new, invisible kind of war.
As the threats changed over the years, so did the language they used to describe them. The vocabulary itself tells a story of escalating danger.
For decades, you always heard the term NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical. You'll see it all over the old training manuals. But today, the term is CBRN. And the really crucial part is that R they added for radiological. That addition acknowledges threats like dirty bombs and other radiological weapons. It seems like a small change, but it reflects a much, much broader and more complex threat landscape.
And this just drives the point home that these threats were never just some abstract idea. This is a toxicology table from Fort McClellan. It lists the very real symptoms, the treatments, for exposure to toxic stuff. This wasn't just about training for some hypothetical bad guy. It was about managing the real and present dangers right there on the base itself.
But that long, storied chapter at Fort McClellan was coming to an end. It was time for a big change, a pivotal relocation in the school's history.
The year was 1999, and after nearly half a century as the home of the Chemical Corps, the gates at Fort McClellan were officially locked for good. It was the end of an era. Now, the base didn't close because the mission was over. Far from it. It was actually part of a much bigger military infrastructure strategy. The closure was ordered by something called the Defense Base Closure and Realignment Commission, or BRAC. Basically, they were restructuring military bases all across the country, and that meant the chemical school needed a new home.
And this slide just puts that transition in perfect focus, doesn't it? On the left, you've got Fort McClellan, the historic home now closed. And on the right, its successor, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, the active, modern hub for all Department of Defense CBRN training today.
And that brings us right back to the present day to take a look at what the CBRN Defender looks like here in the 21st century operating out of Fort Leonard Wood.
So, the school's evolution was made official on January 11, 2008. The name was changed from the U.S. Army Chemical School to the CBRN School. And look, this wasn't just slapping a new label on the door. It was a clear signal of its much bigger, all-encompassing mission. And let me tell you, the facilities at Fort Leonard Wood are truly next level. It's got the Chemical Defense Training Facility, or CDTF, and this is the only place in the country where students train with actual live nerve agents in these incredibly controlled but very realistic scenarios. It also is one of the few licensed radiological teaching labs in the entire DoD and acts as the main developer for the military's entire chemical and biological defense program.
So who exactly trains here? Well, as you can see, the Army is the biggest group, but this is a truly joint and international effort. You have folks from the Air Force, Navy, Marines, and even international military partners all coming to Fort Leonard Wood. It really is the global center of excellence for CBRN defense.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Let us rule the battle by means of the elements. From that gritty, Cold War realism at Fort McClellan to the high-tech joint service mission at Fort Leonard Wood today, that motto, it's been the one constant, the defining purpose through it all.
And it kind of leaves us with one final thought, right? In a world where the threats are always changing and are often invisible, how do you keep training for the truly unthinkable? The work being done every single day at the CBRN school is the ongoing answer to that very question.